Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Pinstripe Press. This is episode 32. Another episode and another series win for the Yanks. The boys are still buzzing, Mike.
We're cooking, baby. 3 series wins in a row. 9-2 at the time of this recording. I think that's a fantastic start. Pretty much everything we could have hoped for. The guys are playing well. We're gonna get more into this, but Anthony Volpe has looked amazing. I think definitely the standout of anyone on the roster so far this season. So gotta love his improvement. Gotta love how things are going. Took the Blue Jays series 2-1, now in the middle of the Marlins series.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of surprises so far, and a lot of disappointing performances too. But I think for the most part, it's all been good so far. We talked about, first game back at the stadium, Soto debut, and, I think it was, it exceeded its expectations. I mean, I don't know, like his roll call and then Stroman at the stadium for his debut. I don't know, it was just really cool. And then, to beat up on the Blue Jays too, added on top of that.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into the Blue Jays recap, just want to mention MLB Power Rankings Week 2. Got the Yankees getting some love all the way up at 3 in those Power Rankings, with the Dodgers moving up to 1 and the Braves moving down to 2. Do you think the Yankees deserve that 1 spot after how good we've been so far? Or do you still think you give it to the Dodgers or the Braves?
I feel like we should have it. I think just on our record, and we've played great teams too. It's not like we're playing the A's and then the Rockies. We played the Astros and the Diamondbacks and then the Blue Jays. I mean, we've played, arguably 3 contenders. At least playoff contenders for the Blue Jays. They got good teams, and to be 9-2 so far, I feel like you got to. Obviously the Dodgers are one of the best teams in the league. They got a great roster, but I don't know. I don't know. Right at the moment, I think we got a better record, and I think we've performed better. So I think we definitely deserve at least 1 or 2.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially because, it's power rankings, right? So you're not, talking about, I guess, on paper, the best teams, which obviously I'd say on paper the Dodgers and the Braves have the 2 best teams in the league. But I think with power rankings, just based on how we've performed over the start of the season, you got to give us a shout for at least a 2 in the power rankings. We're looking around the AL East. The Orioles still going to be high in the power rankings, but they haven't had an amazing start to the season. I think, to be honest, the team that's looked the closest or the next best in the AL East is the Red Sox at this point. They have a good record, have looked very good. Their rotation and bullpen has looked really good, and their offense even too with Tyler O'Neill going crazy, with the highest OPS in the league, 5 home runs. And then, you've got the Blue Jays and Rays who have both had tough starts, but are still, really talented teams. But at this point, I think, some unexpected things going on in the AL East. Obviously, still very early on, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Maybe I don't know how much you've seen of these other teams, but
No, yeah. I'm looking now, and I've been noticing, the Red Sox winning more games. I looked at their schedule. They have played the A's and the Angels, so definitely they aren't playing too much of a competition. But still, to get, you still got to win games. No matter who you're playing. I feel like it's really anyone's game. So for them to be 7-3 was definitely shocking. I think a lot of us, pretty much most people, probably predicted them to finish last in for this year, which obviously it's still early. A lot of these teams, like I'm looking at the Guardians, like they're 8-2. The Pirates are 9-2, which I do think the Pirates are good, but are they going to be able to keep that up? I don't think so. And then I mean, like the Marlins, we're starting that series. That series is underway, and I feel like they're not like I don't think they're a 1-10 team. That the record says. I mean, they've got good players on it, but I think it is early. But that's definitely an interesting shakeup in the standings for the AL East. AL East at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned like some other teams. There's been a decent amount of surprises so far. As far as like team performances, I think it's things will even out. As we continue into the season. The Astros aren't going to be a below 500 team like they are right now. Same with like probably the Rays and the Blue Jays as well. But yeah, for now, the Yankees 9-2, great start, looking great, but just everyone be prepared because at some point we're going to go on maybe a little losing streak or, drop a couple of series in a row. It's just what happens with such a long season. So yeah, but, I think just right now, everyone's, looking at the World Series for the Yankees, but still so long to go.
Mm-hmm. So long to go. But let's look at what's went right so far for the Yankees. Starting with this Blue Jays series, first game, opening day at the Bronx, and kind of was a little bit of a disappointment. Yanks drop it 3-0, get shut out, but the pitching, I feel like, has continued to done well so far, at least in the absence of Garrett Cole. Stroman gets the ball this game, and 6 innings, 3 hits, and 6 strikeouts, no runs. I mean, you can't really ask for a better performance out of Stroman. That's what you would like him to do. If he can be consistent at going 6, keeping his hits down because, he's a ground ball hitter. He's not a big strikeout guy. So for him to, go the distance like that is what you want. And I mean, obviously, I think Dennis Santana, he just got called up that game. Like that was his first game. He gave up 2 runs, but obviously you'd like the bullpen to be crisp, but at the same time, I mean 3 runs. I mean, this offense has been producing way more than 3 runs the whole season. So that really shouldn't be too big of a problem for them, but the bats go silent this game. Volpe, though, has stayed very well this season so far. He had 2 hits that game. He's had a lot of multi-hits game, and I don't know, he just looks better all around. I really do think it's just no pressure on him, which there should be pressure on him last year, but at the same time, there shouldn't have been as much pressure. Obviously, he was one of the top prospects People comparing him to Jeter, but with the superstar talent we have, he shouldn't have to be relied on to pick up the slack. So I think this year, he can just go out there and play. And he was great so far and great that game, but outside of him, nothing too good on the offense side. I mean, I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what can you really say about this game? We only put up 6 hits in the whole game. Yeah, and you mentioned Dennis Santana. It's his first game. I think he looked pretty solid until the end of his outing, because he pitched like almost a couple innings, I think. He looked pretty solid, and obviously he was called up to replace Jonathan Loaizaga, who we found out will be missing the entire season with a UCL injury. I'm pretty sure he's avoiding Tommy John surgery, but he's still getting a surgery that will require him to miss the whole season, which is obviously a massive blow to the bullpen already. We've seen the injury struggles in the bullpen, especially last year. And, already we're losing one of our top leverage guys in the bullpen, someone that was supposed to be a multi-inning guy out of our bullpen, possibly a setup guy for Clay Holmes. And now we're losing one of the few guys that we know for sure that we can trust. Because now you're looking at, Caleb Ferguson, Ian Hamilton, and, when he comes back, Tommy Kahnle, to be those setup guys. And then, even like Nick Birdie, who has looked pretty good, but someone that is playing his first full season in the majors, like in a while, and first time in a while. And he's someone that we're having to trust, a good amount right now. But yeah, going back to this first game of the Blue Jays series, there's not much else you can expect the pitching to do. I think, I really liked how Stroman looked, how he's looked through the first 2 games. But when your offense is doing that, there's nothing else you can really do. I just hope, there's still going to be some of these games where the Yankees offense goes quiet. I just hope that there's a lot less than last year.
100%. I think there will be. We've seen a lot of comebacks this year so far. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely frustrating, seeing one game, them put up 7 runs, and then the next, they barely put up 7 hits. So yeah, obviously there's still some tweaks that need to be made. There's still some flashbacks of last year, but not as much, that's for sure. But I mean, I don't know. That was just not a good loss, especially being opening day at the stadium. I mean, you got shut out by Kikuchi.
Right.
Not ideal. But we move on. All right, we move on. That's 1 loss on the series, and the boys are looking to bounce back and try to climb back into this series and take this one as we head into game 2 with Clark Schmidt on the mound.
Versus Kevin Gausman.
Yeah.
So coming into this, it's not looking great. Like, Kevin Gausman previously has shut us down quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
And then, going into it against Clark Schmidt, who's had his struggles, you're thinking maybe, the Yankees will drop this series. But, we'll talk about what happened.
Yeah, so like Mike said, their ace versus our ace, rubber matchup here. Yeah, and like we were just saying, Yankees get shut out there, bats go silent, and then this game, off the bat, off the rip, the first 2 innings, they put up 6 runs. I mean, if you want to talk inconsistency, that's a great example right there. And yeah, I mean, Gosman got shelled. He didn't even make it 2 innings, 6 runs given up, 2 walks and 4 hits. And 4 hits, 6 runs. Obviously, ain't no singles, and that means we're also getting on base, and we're capitalizing on it. We're actually capitalizing. It's a shocker. But yeah, I mean, this offense from top to bottom, I mean, everyone contributed. This was also Judge. Yeah, I mean, Judge's first homer at the stadium. Obviously, probably most of the people's, because obviously this is the second game. Yeah, Judge goes 2 for 3 with a homer. Rizzo hits a bomb. Obviously, Stanton, 3 hits, 3 for 4 that game with a homer. And then I at least on the defense side for pitching, Clark didn't went to 5 but couldn't finish there. I mean, 6 hits given up, 2 runs, not bad, 4 strikeouts. Not a bad outing, but I don't know. Like, it can't be going 4.5 innings pitched. I mean, you'd like him to go longer. I mean, with that lead, too, they had, you wish he could have done more, but, I mean, he did enough to, keep the Blue Jays from scoring runs. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's 6-2 heading into the 5th. The Yanks score a couple more, and then it's 9-2 heading into the 7th, and then there's a little scare here. Luke Weaver, who did get the win. He did get the win, but kind of had a scare here. Gave up 3, went 2 innings. So obviously he is going to be like a long relief guy. I know he was competing with Heel for that 6th spot. So we'll definitely be seeing him all season, probably matching up with Clark or I don't know. Definitely Clark. I feel like that's what they want to do because obviously Clark doesn't really go the distance a lot. Obviously we saw that this game, but he's a 5-inning type guy, so we'll definitely, whenever Clark's pitching, Weaver's definitely going to be the first one out of the pen. But he gives up 3 runs, and then Ian Hamilton, who's been really good so far, gives up 3 too, and then, that's the 9th inning, and all of a sudden it's 9-8, which the Yankees obviously get out of it. They win this one 9-8, but it's like, I mean, talk about close call here. They were up 9-2. And then, you let the Blue Jays score 6 runs. And was this the game where Vladdy, shushed the crowd?
Yes, it was.
He homered and was he cut the score to 9-3.
Yes, which was ridiculous. But starting to get at the end of this game, when it was getting really close, I was like, no way. If they win this game, he's he's justified in shushing the crowd.
Yeah.
But still, that's one of the most ridiculous things you can do. Yeah. Easily becoming one of the most hated players in the Yankees by Yankees fans. But what are you doing, man? That's just embarrassing. Down 6 runs. I get it if it's a close game and you're hitting a game-tying home run, or even a home run to put you guys down 1 or something. But down 6, dude. The Yankees bullpen, which almost gave up the lead, but we didn't. Just a bad look. Bad look.
That was his only hit that game too. So it's yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you're 4 for 5, you're on a heater. and you've been playing great all season, but like obviously it's still early, but like he hasn't been anything too special so far. He's in
Yeah, definitely
220
not.
and the season just started. That's not good at all. But yeah, I mean, 10 hits for the Yanks and 9 runs. So definitely a difference we saw from Friday's game to then Saturday, night and day. So the Yanks even up that series there, 1-1, and heading into Sunday, try to take this one with Luisio on the bump, who's been a bright spot so far. Definitely a lot of potential we've seen so far. And he kind of showed it again in this game. But he still can't go deep in the games. His pitch count's been getting up, and he's walking guys. Now, I think this was the game with Angel Hernandez behind the dish. And I don't, did you see that one pitch to Glaber?
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I think it didn't help that Glaber just wasn't he just stepped away and wasn't looking for the pitch at all, because maybe that just distracted Angel, or made it look like there was a different strike zone. But still, that's just one of the most ridiculous calls I've seen. And also, just in general, I feel like the umpiring has been very inconsistent this season. But yeah, give me the robo-umps, please.
Yeah. But he'll, 8 strikeouts and, only 2 hits given up. And so far in 2 games, he's got a total of 3 hits given up only, which is really, really, really good. But yeah, I mean, he's continually walking a lot of people, which obviously drives up his pitch count. I mean, just imagine, if we could get him to go 6 innings, I definitely could see him averaging 7 strikeouts a game. We could 100% see a couple multi 10, 11, 12 strikeout games for him. So, he's just got to get his control down and, not walk as many people. But, he kept the Yankees. He actually, he shut out the Blue Jays for pretty much the whole time he was in. And, the Yankees in that 3rd inning put up a 5 spot. Stan obviously hit the grand slam. And then Volpe again, 3-hit game. 3-hit game for him. Everything was going right. And honestly, everything was going right for the Yankees on offense. People were getting on. Judge Rizzo, 2 walks. I mean, just thinking that order back to back. And, that sets up Stanton, which, I hope he can just keep it up. But it's we cannot get away from, how many strikeouts he's had so far this season. I think I saw a stat. It's out of a total of 18 at-bats, 14 of the at-bats for Stan have been strikeouts. So,
that must have been at the start of the Blue Jays series.
Yeah. So obviously,
I think.
No.
I think his Blue Jays series was much better. Especially the game, the first game where he hit I think it was game 2 where he hit a home run. The solo shot, he really turned on that ball and crushed it. He also hit a single. His homer. Oh, his homer was the short portion, right? That's right.
Yeah.
It was homer in only Yankee Stadium and not any other stadium. But still, we take it. It's a Stan homer, gets him going. And then later in that game, obviously that was his 3-hit game. He turns on a pitch, a fastball, and singles it and hits a laser into left. Pretty sure I checked the StatCast on that. It was 116 off the bat. So, StatCast era Stanton domination. But yeah, he had that. He had his grand slam in game 3. He had, I believe, a couple hits in the first Marlins game, and we want him to keep this up. Maybe this is just one of his hot streaks because we know he's a streaky hitter. But I think hope is still alive for him. What we've noticed so far in the lineup is that he's either, the Yankees were switching between batting him fourth or fifth, with Rizzo going to be the opposite. And then behind them, matching up, righty, lefty. So behind them, you're switching Verdugo and Volpe between 6 and 7. I think, Stanton might not be one of our better hitters or our best hitters right now. But still, with that potential that he has for the pop, keeping him in that 4 or 5 is something that we might just have to live with. Because like we saw, when you have your guys on base, had Judge and Rizzo on base ahead of him and someone else as well, he hits that grand slam. He absolutely mashed it like 470, second deck, left field. So he's driving in those runs there. A lot better from him this series. So hope is not lost.
Yeah, hopefully he can, continue to get it going because, we're going to have runners on for him. So if he can execute here like he did in this game, it's a difference maker for sure. But, Yanks actually put up 8 hits, 8 runs, these last 2 games of the series, night and day compared to that first one. I think it goes back to what we were saying, I don't think we'll have a lot of those games where, the offense goes silent, and we've seen that from this series, and I think from every series we've had so far, there's been more games than there are less of, putting up more runs. So, I mean, the offense has been really fun to watch, and, the pitching, I'd like to say it's been fun to watch too because, we were just so unsure of what we did not know what to expect. With Cole going down with that injury, we didn't know what this rotation would be. And I feel like it's like kind of getting in a rhythm. I feel hopefully Nestor at least has shaken off those 2 bad performances, and, he can keep up how he is supposed to pitch, like how he did, obviously, in the Marlins game. But, if everyone just keeps getting this stride going, like, this team's going to be very good. And I think we only get better. Obviously, it sucks that Loizaga got injured and he's out for the season. And, I mean, it's just like every year, the bullpen starts off well. Obviously, it's still early, but I'd like to say the bullpen's been really good. And then, of course, he gets hit with an injury.
Major injury.
Yeah. And hopefully it doesn't shake up much. But I do think we're only going to get better. Obviously, Garrett Cole coming back. I think we'll get DJ back. And then, obviously, Dominguez will be back by the summer. So,
man, that's a big one too. You never, like, obviously right now we're focused on how everyone's playing. We're focused on Soto. We're focused on Volpe. We're focused on Stroman. But just thinking about Dominguez, how he played in his few games that he played last year, and knowing that we're going to get him back at some point this year, man, I can't wait. That's just going to add a whole new dynamic to the lineup. You just kind of zone out, like you kind of just zone into what we're doing right now and forget that he's he's going to be back in a few months. Kind of makes you think where's his spot in the outfield. I mean, obviously Verdugo's not playing great right now, but yeah, you want to start Dominguez. You're obviously going to start Judge and Soto. Where's Verdugo's spot in the future? But I guess we'll get to that when it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to Luis Gil, I think one thing I wanted to quickly mention is just got to kind of accept like that's kind of just the pitcher he is. He's going to be a strikeout and a walk guy. His pitch counts are going to be high. That's just what happens when you go for strikeouts. Obviously, the command's got to be a little bit better. Saw way too many walks out of him. But I think, as a fifth starter, he's been very serviceable. And, it's good to see him stepping up while we're still missing Garrett Cole.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? He kind of reminds me of like Severino. High velo, not great control, walks guys, but also gets strikeouts. At least prime Yankees Severino when he was in, the middle of his, tenure with the Yankees. I don't know, he just seems like he's got a little bit of Severino to him.
I see it.
He's been good so far, and another prospect, low risk you take with him. You kind of just throw him in to the rotation, and he's playing well. You take a chance on him, and he's definitely paying off right now. But I mean, Yankees win that one 8-3, and they win another series, so that's 3 series in a row. And then obviously, we got the Marlins series starting up. They just played yesterday, won that one. And then obviously by, the next episode, hopefully the Yankees can take another series with the Marlins here. And, obviously we talked about the Marlins, only having 1 win. Wondering if, we might see another inconsistent game, one of those games where the Yankees drop one to a bad team, because that's another thing we always see at least a couple of times in the year. But I don't know. The Marlins definitely have shocked me for being this bad, but, it's still early, like we said. Coming into, I think after another series has passed and they've won it, I think the more the season's like getting going, the more, I don't know if it's shocked I am, but definitely surprised by, kind of how they are playing. I mean, if you think about looking at spring training, towards the end of it when, we found out about Garrett Cole, and then the team really wasn't playing great. And I know it was spring training, but the team wasn't really scoring or really getting hits, and they were, the starters who were playing for most of the games. And, I was kind of I really wonder how this season's going to start now, especially with Cole out. And, I mean, this is just I don't know, definitely, I think, exceeded the expectations so far.
Yeah, I think things will hopefully only just keep getting better with all the guys that are expected to come back. DJ, Garrett Cole, Tommy Kahnle in the bullpen, Dominguez. Got to be excited. And to do this, being 9-2 without all these guys, it's more than we expected. I think our hope without Garrett Cole was just kind of surviving and being, maybe a slightly above 500 team without him until he comes back, and then we can really get into gear and make that playoff push. But if we're going like this, and then we get Garrett Cole back, it's like, we're gonna be one of the top seeds out of the AL, and we haven't even mentioned Aaron Judge's struggles. So we're gonna get him back to his MVP ways at some point. Things are looking up.
Mm-hmm.
An offense averaging 8 runs in their last 3 games. Obviously, that's been really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Fun to watch, and that leads us to the good, bad, and ugly. What was fun to watch, what wasn't fun to watch, and I think starting out what was fun to watch, Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe so far this season has been fun to watch, but especially in this Blue Jays series, he's definitely been getting this ball rolling for the Yankees, and I think his energy definitely helps the team. To have a young guy like this performing really well benefits everyone. Obviously, in the Blue Jay series, he had a total of 5 hits, and obviously 2 out of 3 were multi hits. 3 and 2. He's driving in runs, and I think he's playing better defense too. I know I saw a couple clips of some plays he made, which is definitely the thing we wanted to see him get better at and clean up. And he's starting to look like that Gold Glove winner he was last year. And then along with that, Giancarlo Stanton, obviously we said he's one of the guys who kind of had a lot of pressure on him heading into this season. He's got a lot to prove that he should, stay in the lineup. But, there are guys coming back that, there's going to be a lot of changes and a lot of short leashes for, obviously people's spots are going to be changed. Their roles are going to be changed. So, if Stanton was playing like last year, felt like he should definitely have a short leash. But, this series, at least, he also similar to Volpe, he's getting multi-hits. And then obviously, I think just the grand slam, that was just a clutch grand slam for him. And, it was like an exclamation mark on that game. So that was definitely good to see. Obviously bad, like we were just saying, Verdugo. He was one of those guys, I don't know, we didn't know what to expect getting, kind of the trade. Trade kind of came out of nowhere, at least at the time, And, yeah, he hasn't been great at all. Obviously, he's hitting .211 right now, and, at the start of the season, that's not great. At the start of the season, this is where you see all those batting averages up, 500, 400s. So, I mean, he just hasn't been getting it going. I did see clips. He's been hitting the ball. It's just like he's getting unlucky. He's hitting them right to the players. So he's definitely getting good contact. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't been great to any extent. I mean, this series, first 2 games, he was 0 for 7. Obviously, it's not what you want at all. I mean, for the most of these games this year, I'm looking, he hasn't gotten hits. Obviously, he's got a great glove. We saw it in a lot of the games. He's very athletic, and he's got a great personality that brings energy. We're already seeing that with his statement about the outfield being a bunch of dogs. But so hopefully he can just get going, which I think he will. I think it's similar to anything. Like, the season's just started. I think we really gotta, come back and look at it come like July-ish, towards the as the season kind of like gets going, and almost moves into the midway point, I think then we got to look and judge, like, all right, who's doing what and how are they performing?
Yeah, and it's like at that point, his spot will be there'll be competition for a spot with Dominguez coming back. So I expect Verdugo to pick things up. He's not the type of guy to just let that spot go. Regardless if we have Soto and Judge and one of the top prospects in baseball, he's going to want to play. He's going to fight for his spot. And I think his glove will definitely help him in that competition. But yeah, I think what to expect, probably a mix of days off between Verdugo and Stanton. Just because, if you're not going to want Judge and Soto out of the lineup much, and same with Dominguez as well. So I think we'll be seeing like either mostly Stanton and a little bit of Judge and Soto in the DH spot. And then depending on if we're facing a righty or a lefty, we'll have Stanton playing or Verdugo playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a lot of interesting moves the Yankees will have to make. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. You play well, you're gonna get that role. But again, it's a good problem to have for the Yankees. They got depth, and they got good depth at a lot of positions. What's not good is, the offense in that first game. It was ugly. That leads us to our ugly nomination. Obviously, the offense has picked it up big time the last two games, but I think just at least the game one offense, I just found it ugly. I think because of, the situation, opening day at the stadium, Soto, Judge, big name guys. You got the headlines of the offseason, and it's like there's a lot of anticipation, and then kind of just go out there like with a dud. It's kind of just not fun at all.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for like pitching to do well, like that even just adds on to it. It's like there was nothing at all, like no help at all.
Yeah. It was a rough game one in the Bronx, but definitely bounced back well in the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the good, bad, and ugly. A lot of good again. We're seeing that a lot every series. We keep saying it because, it's more good than bad, and that's always a good thing, But
sometimes we'll come out here with our good, bad, and ugly and struggle to find a good. But now it's kind of the opposite. Like, for our past two episodes, our ugly has been, picking out one specific game and saying like, oh, the offense was terrible this game, which, is not really, we're obviously not picking out a single player in those instances. But yeah, so that's obviously a good thing. We're struggling to pick between multiple goods, and we're struggling to find a lot of uglies out there. So as much as good, bad, and ugly is just like a little segment we do and just a little bit of fun, it's also a good indicator of how the team's performing.
100%. And, these good, bad, and uglies obviously lead to, they got a lot of good moments that have happened in the game. A lot of these players have created a lot of good moments, and, leads us into our moments rankings. I still got to figure out a name for it, but I'd like you to rank. I want to see if you could rank, some of these moments based on what you saw. The Stanton Grand Slam, that was obviously very good. Volpe's 3-hit game. Stroman's scoreless outing. And then I think the magnitude of it, just Soto's roll call. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. pretty tough, to be honest. I think I'll have to go in my 4 spot, probably just Volpe's 3-hit game. Obviously, it's great, and how he's been performing this season. He's obviously been outstanding. But we're kind of used to his multi-hit games now, and as a moment, I don't think it's as great as the rest of them. Next, I'll go with Stroman's outing. It was great. The only reason I really put that over Volpe's game is because, this is first game at the Bronx, and Stroman's showing out, going 6 scoreless. That's exactly what you want from your starting pitcher, especially that you just signed this offseason. Next, I think I'll go with the Soto roll call. As a moment, it's really exciting. It was something very anticipated. Got everyone hyped, and Soto's just eating it up out there. The crowd's loving him. And that roll call, the first of this season when the team's performing well, is something great to watch. And then obviously that puts the Stanton Grand Slam in my number 1 for this moment's ranking. I think it's great to see, especially when Stan's been struggling. Grand Slam is obviously like the biggest thing you can really do in a game at a single moment. And watching him just like absolutely demolish that thing, give us that big lead over the Blue Jays a day after Vlad was, talking crap about us. That was, as a moment, I think my favorite out of these 4.
I like it. It's a mix of all different things too. Again, that's just like last week's. We have a whole mix of everything, and that's a good thing. It's not just all the same stuff. Everyone's contributing, and they're all contributing in different ways. There's a big energy shift from last season to this season, and it's definitely, I think, Juan Soto at least, making some of these acquisitions they made. I mean, even just the roll call, the energy at the stadium. I think, like you said, obviously the fans love it, and I think Soto likes it being here. And I mean, obviously, it's like it revived this Yankees team. I mean, even like Verdugo, saying the outfield is a bunch of dogs. I mean, these players build off that energy, and then obviously the media takes it and, emphasizes it even more, and it gets talked about. So I think it's been great so far for the Yankees. A great way to start the season. Obviously, 9-2, 2 losses that, are due to happen. But, the way they lost them games, you would like them to fix. Obviously the bats go silent in those 2 losses, but it is what it is. It's a long season. It's going to happen. But, just what a way to start the season so far. Just what a way.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, the Yanks are playing well. I think we will get back after the Marlins series. Hopefully they can take another one there. And that would be 4 series in a row.
Yeah, bro. Took the game yesterday with Nestor on the bump. Got Carlos Rodon versus AJ Puck tonight. Hopefully we can clinch the series versus a struggling Marlins team. But yeah, we'll definitely get back to you, get more in depth onto game 1 in the rest of the games in next episode.
Go Yanks.
Peace.